we've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
It's Silver and Black Today on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Happy birthday to the United States Marine Corps. 244 years old today. Want to give a special shout out and Semper Fi to all the Marines in Raider Nation, both past and current.
Hoorah.
Of course, it is Veterans Day weekend, Veterans Day tomorrow. I want to thank all branches of the military, but today, of course, is as I said, the 244th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Hoorah! Ready? All right, so there you go. Happy Sunday to all of you in Raider Nation. Welcome back to Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio. 1140, Las Vegas' only all Raiders talk show. In addition, we have a second show Tuesday nights. This week, 5:30 to 6:30, Silver and Black Tonight. Make sure you catch that as well. Of course, all of it you can hear if you have downloaded the radio.com app. You can take it with you anytime, anywhere, and stream it on your phone. iOS, Android, doesn't matter. We can be in your pocket. All right. Well, the Raiders had a good week, right?
Yeah.
Right, guys? They had a good week.
2 wins in 1 week.
2 wins in 1 week. Of
deal.
course, the Chargers, big win there. But before we get on to the Raiders, I got to talk about, because this is a Raiders show, yes, but it's a football show. The game of the century, too, yesterday. LSU, Alabama, was phenomenal. I think it lived up to expectations. A game of the century, I don't know, whatever. It was a great game. I mean,
century.
I just, if you love football and college football, it's just a reminder. I love pro football too, but this game was everything you want in college football. It had drama, it had injuries, it had long plays, it had running backs taking over the game and carrying guys 8 yards on their back. Kelly, I mean, it goes to show you too, right, that those two teams out of the SEC are so much better. Now, you know me, I'm a big Notre Dame fan. It's not even close. I mean, they make teams like Notre Dame look like a mid-major.
You're going to get hit with that SEC bias in the media, being media personality, where everybody talks about how great the SEC, blah, blah, and all that stuff is. It's just the fact that more NFL talent comes out of the SEC than anywhere else because of where the schools are located. They're in that talent-rich, southern region. You get Texas, Louisiana, Florida, and that's where just the bulk of your guys are going to be coming from. But there was more NFL talent on that field yesterday than's going to be on the Bengals game today.
Yes.
I mean, it's just I said this. There's probably 4 or 5 NFL receiving corps that are not as good as Alabama.
Oh, absolutely.
And to me, it's like you've got Judy and Ruggs, who are top 10 guys, in my opinion, in this draft. Ruggs will probably be in the 15 to 20 range when he's drafted, but I think he's a top 10 prospect.
Yeah.
And, there's just talent everywhere, and you see it on the field.
But does that put Alabama on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs are concerned?
They're on the outside looking in, but they can still get in.
Yeah.
The Penn State thing was big for them this weekend because Minnesota, if they win, that means they'll knock out Ohio State, which I don't think is going to happen. But you automatically get rid of them. Clemson, who was 5, is now going to jump on the top floor. Clemson's not losing. If Clemson loses a football game this year before the playoff, they should disband the program. No, seriously. They've played the word I can't use on the radio to describe their schedule starts with an S.
Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassing that's a
trash.
No, that doesn't. They don't even
beyond trash.
They don't even deserve to get that kind of a qualification. How bad that schedule is.
Yeah.
This is the worst schedule I've ever. And it's partly not their fault because the ACC is so bad this year.
Yeah.
The ACC used to be a football conference. Now it's a basketball conference.
Now it's a basketball conference. And you know what, though? I will tell you, I'm a Ruggs fan. I think the problem with the Raiders is they may have about the 10th pick, and they have other needs as well. And
Don't
there's other great
Bears
players.
Pick.
That's the Bears pick.
Oh, okay.
10th pick.
So it's going to be higher than that.
Yeah, it'll probably be higher than that. But my point is they're going to probably pick too early to get him, and maybe they can pick one of the other guys. But I think that receiving core, honestly, no offense to the Raiders receivers, I think that's better than their receiving core right now.
Oh, I would take it. The Raiders, the Raiders is one of them.
Yeah.
I would take their receiving core over the Raiders. And the funny thing is, Jalen Waddle's the guy no one talks about.
Yes.
He is a star.
Oh, my gosh, dude. And watching those guys yesterday, watching them route run and their speed, it was just an exciting game. It was fun. But and that's where I think this draft, we're going to talk later in the show. One of the things we want to talk about is, and we're going to talk with Mo Moton about it as well, which is, the Gruden plan, right? We're not going to call it the Gruden-Mayock plan, although it is now, but really the Jon Gruden plan for building this Raiders roster. Last year, everyone said the time has passed him by. He was crazy. Even we were like, Khalil Mack, what? All that stuff. But it's coming together. There's still lots of holes. I'm not saying this team isn't now a play. I said if they won the Charger game that I would consider them a true wild card contender, which I do,
right? Especially
with the schedule. But at the same time, there's still lots of holes on this roster. So they have a lot of work to do still in the draft and free agency. But we're going to talk later about that plan, how it's coming together, what they need, linebacker, wide receiver, and other positions as well, because there's clearly holes there, but there's clearly progress, Chaz.
Yep.
We saw it with the defense on Thursday.
Well, we said until they're a complete team, those are the kind of wins they're going to have. It's going to be the back and forth, Houston game, Detroit game, and then the San Diego game. And luckily, we were the ones with the ball at the end of the game.
Yeah, and we're going in the next after the next break, we're going to talk about the defense specifically in the game, and we're going to hear from Derek Carr and Jon Gruden on that as well as Eric Harris. But some news, of course, yesterday the Raiders signed DJ Swearinger, used to play for the Cardinals. Actually, started every snap for the Cardinals the first 4 games of the season, and also he's a safety, and also defensive end Dion Jordan.
Even worse.
That's even. Come on, man. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. They needed bodies, dude. They needed bodies.
Yeah, but Dion Jordan's got about as much chance of passing a drug test as I do now.
Right. He's a risk. He's no doubt.
What's the alternative? Who else is out there?
Well, you can get somebody who's played in the last decade.
Hey, he was a 3rd overall pick.
Yeah, by the Dolphins. They traded up for him. And who did we get from that trade? A cornerback who almost died on the field.
Oh, boy. It's a mess. We'll get into that, though. But the signing with that, Carl Joseph, of course, who had the game-clinching interception on Thursday, broke his foot as Keenan Allen came down on his foot and broke it. Just horrible, horrible luck for a guy whose 5th-year option was not exercised, playing to maybe stay on the Raiders or at least showcase himself for another team. So it's too bad to Carl Joseph. We send him our best. Yep. Also, in a corresponding move, they waived linebacker Quentin Poling, who had been activated last week. So the roster movement continues for the Raiders. Swearinger, 5'10", 205-pound safety. He was a second-round pick overall by Houston. He has played with the Buccaneers, the Cardinals, and the Redskins over a 7-year career, 94 games, 70 starts, 4.5 sacks, 14 interceptions, and 40 passes defensed, and 9 forced fumbles. So, Kelly, out of the guys that are out there, you need somebody to come in and play, right? Swearinger, he's an experienced NFL vet. Doesn't mean he's going to be a lights-out guy, but is there anybody else out there you would have signed?
The only thing is when you do something like this, is there a young guy you want to take a look at to take a chance on, or a vet that you just throw out there that it's like the understudy in a play? It's like he knows the lines. We're not looking for a performance. We just need him out there.
Right.
And that's sort of the way they went. Because, like you said earlier, they've got a shot at a wild card. Mm-hmm. You kind of need that veteran that's out there. But, if you look at the last 2 teams that cut him, they have some of the worst secondaries in football.
Including Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, well, Arizona and Washington were his last 2 teams, and both of their secondaries are trash. So it just shows you that not really hey, who knows? He's going in there. Like I said, he's the understudy on a play. He knows what he's doing. He's a body.
Yep.
You're not expecting much out of him, but you're gonna, you're getting some kind of.
Got to get somebody in there. You said it. You just got to fill the spots, get a body in there. Now, if they would have made a move before the trade deadline, like for a Ramsey or Fitzpatrick, then you thought, well, maybe they are looking to the playoffs. But I guess in my mind, they're still kind of in that rebuilding, getting the young guys.
Yeah, you're not going to give up draft capital. Well, you're past the deadline now anyway, but you're not going to give up too much. And clearly, there was nobody young out there that they wanted to bring in. Or to your point, they don't want to work on development; they want to work on winning right now. Mm-hmm. And facing the Bengals and the Jets coming up, I can understand that as well. You're going to face a rookie quarterback in his second start in Ryan Finley. And then, of course, you faced Sam Darnold with the Jets in New York right before Thanksgiving. So we'll see what happens there. But, the Raiders with the injuries, they've been hit hard by injuries on defense and suspension, of course. So it's been tough for them on the defense. They weren't a great defense to begin with, and then you start losing guys. Yep. And then we'll talk later about some of our midseason evaluations and awards, and there's some guys in that defensive backfield who were going to be counted on that haven't lived up to expectations as well. So it's been a rough go for them.
I kind of like this. They've kind of had that bend but don't break kind of attitude for the defense. We were talking about it earlier. It looks like they're losing every game by 40 points because the other team's just going up and down the field. But then at the end of the day, they kind of hold them. They hold them to a field goal. They get a turnover, this and that. In the last 6 games, the Raiders' offense have averaged 26.5 points a game. The Raiders' defense have given up 27 points a game. But the Raiders are 4-2, so that just kind of shows their resiliency. They're just coming together. They're playing hard. And if you get on the same page, as a team, you can do good things.
Yeah, it's tough to pull anything out of the Thursday game, though, because everybody who's ever had fantasy or plays fantasy football knows Phillip Rivers has 2 games like that every year where he just implodes, and we just happen to catch one of them. Hey, it's a win. It's an ugly win, but hey, it's a W.
Well, we talked about it. It was one of the keys of the game, I thought. If we could just force Rivers into some turnovers
50
early.
turnovers?
Well, and he gets rattled easily. And so that first interception that was called back because of a penalty, you could see it. He got a little bit rattled, and then he overthrew it. Harris got the interception. So if you can get into Rivers' head early, you got a shot there.
Yes, and when the Chargers took that lead late in the game, he started talking trash to the bench, and
that's what he always does, man.
He doesn't.
Right.
He did that at NC State.
Yes,
I mean that's
who he is.
Yeah,
we're up against the break. When we come back, we'll talk about that Raiders defense and their performance from Thursday. You're listening to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140.
The Bills meet the Browns, the Panthers meet the Packers, and the Vikings take on the Cowboys. Sunday morning starting at 10 on CBS Sports Radio, 1140.
Hey, this is Eric Allen. You're listening to Silver and Black Today.
Oh, speaking of defense, Eric Allen. Yeah, I get you going. No Raider football on Sunday, but Trent's queued up.
Play that music all day.
That NFL Films music. The Raiders. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to talk about that defense and the performance on Thursday night because, let's face it, the offense did not perform as well. Now, they did when they had to, so don't think I'm hating or saying that Derek Carr's not a wonderful human being. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. Some games, the flow is different. Some games, your offense does better than your defense and vice versa.
Right.
This was an example of the defense playing well, and really, this started early in the game, guys. I mean, when you can get your defense, let me rewind. When your defense can get you 10 points to start the game, that's pretty damn good, right? And that's not something the Raiders have been able to do recently, in recent memory at all.
No.
So to produce points, they were +3 in takeaways this game. Going into the game, they were -1 overall for the season. So thank you, Phillip Rivers, right? But they started with pressure up front. They started with Max Crosby, Clelin Ferrell, who we talked about, right? And P.J. Hall. P.J. Hall is a very unsung guy in the middle, I think. Doesn't get a lot of attention, not always getting tackles, not always getting sacks, but he's pushing the pile back, which is a big deal. But were you guys surprised how they came out so aggressive and how well they did against that Charger? Now, that Charger line's a little beat up.
Right. Yeah, Russell Okung got back in.
The Charger line was terrible to start the season.
They were.
They've been beat up.
I was trying to be nice.
Well, I mean, but let's be honest. This is what you want to see from the Raiders when they play a team like this.
Right.
Because the offensive lines, there's historic bad offensive lines in the NFL this year. And the Chargers are a top 5 worst offensive line. And the second Okung went out, it just the one good player they had is now gone.
Yeah.
So this is what you need to see from a team like this when you're playing a team this bad, with a line this bad.
The Chargers season really summarized by 2 things, the injuries and then the turnovers. So we were talking about, the mentality of the offense coming out after the defense sets you up like that. Does it change? Why is it when the defense, when the offense gets on the field and they're already up 10, 14 to nothing, all of a sudden they go flat and it's just unexplainable?
Well, and it's interesting because the offense was not what it had been the last two games. And we're going to play some sound here. This is cut number 1, Trent. Derek Carr talking about the defensive performance.
They stepped up, right? Especially against a Hall of Fame quarterback. The guy is one of the best to ever play the game. And for our defense to step up and play the way that they did was fantastic. How about our rookie pass rush? He's a really tough, gritty football player, and he was rewarded with all the hard work that he's had. And then when that pass rush is going, helps those DBs play a little bit more free. I would be a better DB with a pass rush, right? I would be, I'd be pretty terrible at it, but I'd be better than I would have been, right? And you get to see these guys, break on balls, take their chances. When that pass rush is going, it's really hard as the quarterback to remain perfectly accurate. There's 2 balls where I'm getting hit today, and you try your best, but as you're getting hit, it throws off timing, it throws off your rhythm, right? Every ball we usually throw is just perfectly on rhythm in practice, right? So I think all of that combined let our defense see that if they play together as a unit like that, they can all make plays. And Carl, again, I love that man. He works his tail off, and I'm glad, so happy for him that he's making all these plays, honestly. Him, guys like Eric Harris, he has about 19 kids, and I'm sure they're all excited for their dad tonight.
19 kids. You would think he was talking about Philip Rivers there, but...
Well, but we saw them all at the interview after the game. They had them all lined up. It did look like he was a teacher, and it was school picture day.
It did. But what Carr's saying, we played a little bit of a longer clip there because I think Carr was touching on what you just talked about, Kelly, which is when you play an offensive line, a defense, especially a young defensive line that, let's face it, has struggled at times.
Right.
Some people have been really hard on Furl. We have not. We've said, look, you got to give him time. That's what we've always said on this show is, look, he's not performing like you'd want him to. Was he the number 4 pick? You could argue that for the next 10 years. But right now, and on Thursday, he made great progress. Mm-hmm. It was against a bad line, but so what? That's what you would expect.
Yeah, and the other thing, like you said, you have to give him time, but you also have to temper your expectations because it's like I said at the draft, he's an 8 or 10 sack guy a year. He's never going to be that 14, 15 sack guy.
Right.
So you're already elevated expectations. So when he goes up, even if he plays half of what he should be, now it's like a quarter of what you're expecting. You got to realize what you're getting with a guy like that. Yeah. And he had a monster game, and you're going to get that from him every once in a while. Yeah. You just can't expect that to be the norm.
Yeah, you want it to be consistent. But, those guys, Crosby and Furl, they listen to our show. They hear the criticism. So, they, after a while, they're going to say, listen, I'm sick of hearing it. We're going to go out and play hard. No, those guys, they work hard. And it just sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. They're staying in their lane. They're doing what their coaches tell them to do. And eventually, their hard work's going to pay off, and we saw that Thursday night.
Well, and you saw Furl with 2.5 sacks, and then you had Mayowa had a sack and a half sack for Maurice Hurst. So Maurice Hurst, who we just a week ago had said, hey, we might need to put him on a milk cart, and he showed up and he played. So that was very encouraging. And of course, we heard Derek Carr talk about Carl Joseph, who's now out for the year, just a terrible, terrible injury, and it's too bad. And here's we'll listen to what Coach Gruden had to say. This is cut number 2, Trent, on the defense.
It's a key anytime you play a great quarterback, like Phillip Rivers or Stafford or any of these guys. I mean, if you let them stand back there, you're in trouble. But I thought we had a good rush. Great energy tonight. We were shorthanded. I mean, we didn't have Morrow. Arden Key broke his foot. We only had 7 D linemen. I credit Gunther. I mean, he did a hell of a job with the scheme. Really good work.
Yeah, we'll talk about Paul Gunther later as well, because a lot of people during the week were saying fire Paul Gunther, which is just nuts. But anyway, but Kelly's brought up valid points about his system and whether or not it needs linebackers. No, I'm just kidding.
It doesn't prioritize the linebacker position. I've been told that on Twitter.
Yes.
But you can't have a revolving door. You're not going to have any cohesiveness if you keep bringing in coaches and players.
Sure. No, the Raiders have learned that over the last 18 years. But yes, so I think, and you look at what Gruden said about, hey, you get a pass rush, suddenly that helps your defensive back. Carr said the same thing, and nobody benefited more from that than Eric Harris, who, again, another great feel-good human story. Yep. But he had 2 interceptions, should have had a third.
He was in the zone.
And here they talked to Eric Harris after the game, too. Here's what he had to say.
It's great team football, and I told those guys that it started with them up front, and they've been playing very well, very well. They've been preparing and doing a great job getting after the quarterback, so it makes our job a lot easier in the back end.
So now, guys, with what you saw on Thursday night and the teams that they have now coming in, Cincinnati and New York, the Jets, do you think they can keep this momentum? I mean, it's a very positive development for this young defense, very thin defense. Can they keep this up at least over the next 2 games and then looking out at the rest of the season?
Well, you hope so, especially when you look at the 2 games coming up. It's not like their schedule gets easier. From this point on, the rest of the year, they have the easiest schedule in the NFL, I believe, if I looked at that correctly.
Yep.
But would it surprise you, being a Raider fan, to be they drop one of these next 2 games after all this momentum, and it just kind of sucks the life out of the team? Because that's just kind of what we've seen in the past. I think they really need to come out and win these next 2 games.
I remember mid-'90s, I came out to Vegas, and the Raiders were playing the Bengals. Late in the season, the Bengals are 0-8, and this is easy. Sure enough, Bengals got their first win against the Raiders, and it's like, gosh, we've seen that way too often with the Raiders, and that was the thing I talked about coming off of that long road trip. You got to avoid that letdown, and Gruden, they seem like they have a different mindset now. Seems like he's got everything going in the right direction. Even if the defense with the injuries don't play as hard, I feel like the offense should be able to take care of Cincinnati and the Jets.
Well, and we'll talk to Mo Moton after the bottom of the hour break about Gruden and his system and his plan, and if it's turned the corner in more ways than one. But I think you're right, too, both of you, about the next 2 games. Look, the Cincinnati game's at home.
You're right.
So you have to win that game. You cannot lose that game. If you lose that game, that's a terrible omen, I believe, right? So you got to win that game in Oakland. The atmosphere, even though it's not going to be probably as fever-pitched as it was against the Chargers, being a divisional game, and of course, Raider fans just hating Phillip Rivers, but it's going to be a home game, so everybody will be up, and then they got to go on the road again right before Thanksgiving to play the Jets, who are not a good football team either. But to me, you got to win at home, and then that game in the Jets, you got to win as well. But I think that's got more peril involved with it, just because it's a road game and you're going all the way across the country again.
Yeah, not only winning the game, but winning by more than one score. Winning convincingly. You have to win that Bengals game by 10, 14 points convincingly. We don't need it to come down to the wire like these last 3 games. That's a game where they shouldn't even be involved in. It should be over before it starts.
If you're setting the line, what is that one, Kelly?
Oh, at home, Raiders 8? At home. Oh, no.
10.5.
No way. There's no way it's over a touchdown. I'd say it's 7.
7? Okay. I thought maybe 8 just because they're so bad, but...
Well, we got to wait till this week, I guess, right?
Yeah.
The game today. See what
Ryan
happens.
Finley, see what he's like? Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing. You don't know what you're getting with Finley, but I don't expect it to be much of a difference than what you've got from Dalton, because it's just been so bad.
Right.
But I don't think you can put the Raiders as a 10-point favorite over anybody in football right now. And just because, like you've said, I mean, Rivers had 19 interceptions and we barely won that game. Mm-hmm. The team's looking better and playing better, but to be a double-digit favorite over anybody in the NFL is not something you see often.
Right.
Right. And the good news is, again, the defense picked up the team on a night when the offense couldn't get as much going as they have over the last couple weeks, and that's a huge development. And you just want to see young players develop. I said at the beginning of the season, records be damned, you just want to see everybody get better. Mm-hmm. And in this game, you clearly saw Furl get better. You saw the entire defensive line get better. Max Crosby continues his tear, and just,
we're seeing it. Steady progress.
Steady progress.
You can already see they're not far from being a solid contending team.
Yep. No, you're right, Chaz. Absolutely. All right. We're going to step aside. When we come back from the break, Mo Moton will join us. We will talk about his column. Check it out at silverandblacktoday.com. We'll talk about coaching. Gruden is a play caller. Tom Cable, the job he's done, and all the heat Paul Gunther has taken, but how the team has responded in light of that. You're listening to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140.
The only way to take Silver and Black Today with you is with a radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back to Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 in beautiful, sunny, perfect temperature Las Vegas, Nevada.
It is.
Where it's going to be like 78 today. So thanks for joining us here. Don't forget, too, our Tuesday night show. This week, it's usually at 6 p.m. This week, 5:30 to 6:30, Silver and Black tonight. So don't miss that. You can also stream it on the radio.com app. All right, going out now on the attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line. Joining us is our senior NFL columnist, also contributor at Bleacher Report, and that is one Mr. Maurice, or as we call him, Mo Moton. Mo, what's up, bud?
How's it going? I'm taking the victory lap, just like the Raiders are.
Yeah.
Twice in 4 to 5 days, so that's good. No one expected that. A lot of people on Twitter are always saying, wow, I'm surprised, as am I.
Yeah, and it's funny to see a lot of media folks now change the tune. Now it's partly, people forget, it's partly an entertainment business. So the Colin Cowherds of the world who say, "Oh, there's a disaster, he can't coach," do they mean it? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's just for entertainment. Fans get riled up about it. But before we get into the current state of the Raiders, what that win meant, and first we're going to talk about coaching and kind of where the Gruden plan is at. The first thing we wanted to do, Mo, was we wanted to confront Kelly first on Hunter Renfrow. Okay? Because yeah,
want to gang up on him.
So I want to throw some numbers out there, and I'm using Pro Football Focus, and some people hate them, some people love them. I'm using their numbers. His offensive grade is 70.9 over the last 2 games. Detroit, his offensive number was 82.5. Against the Chargers, it was 74.1. He ranks 38th overall, ahead of guys like Will Fuller, Odell Beckham Jr., and Julian Edelman.
Will Fuller, who's played 2 games this season?
Hey.
Awesome.
I'm just giving you the list. I'm not editorializing.
But you start with that one, though.
Oh, see, Mo, he's worried. His reception percentage, 73.7. His drop rate, 6.7. It's ahead of Keenan Allen, Jarvis Landry, and Marquise Brown. So, Mo and Kelly, let's talk about this. So, Hunter Renfrow, the thing that I want to say here is that Hunter Renfrow is not a speed burner. He's not the guy who's going to just excite you on a highlight film, but he gets open and he catches the ball, Kelly.
That's all that matters.
Like I said, when I saw that thing on Twitter, it's like, I don't remember outright slandering Hunter Renfrow.
Mo, you've seen him tweet, have you not?
Well, no, but basically I said Hunter Renfrow's the guy, if you need a catch for 4 or 5 yards, he's going to make that for you. If you need a catch for 10 or 12, you're probably not going to get that. The guy's averaging 3 catches a game for 30 yards. And as I did the math, like I said, and I know Mo's all, in
he's about to drop it on you.
In 2056, Mo will be at the Hall of Fame induction for Hunter Renfrow because on his current pace, in 2051, he will break Jerry Rice's record for receptions.
Mo, does he discount Hunter Renfrow too much?
I was on Hunter Renfrow from the minute the Raiders drafted him. I said, hey, this guy, keep an eye on him. I said 50 catches, and people looked at me. People kind of tweeted at me weird. Maybe Kelly was one of them, but I'm just saying, Hunter Renfrow is playing pretty well lately.
He's averaging
10 yards per catch, first down per catch, averaging. That's pretty good. I'm just saying.
I think Kelly bases most of his stuff on fantasy football. He's not seeing the big picture. He just wants numbers. He just wants stats. He just wants touchdowns.
He's averaging
yards.
3 catches a game for 30 yards.
He's a rookie.
That's not, that's not bad, but I'm just saying.
But trends. Look at the last 3 games. He's clearly been more involved.
You got
No, look at his numbers over the last 3 games and average those out real quick.
He's averaging. He's had at least 4 catches in each of the last 2 games, so he's trending upward at least.
In that
he's
offense,
averaging
wait a minute.
4 whole catches.
Mo, back me up on this. In that offense, 4 catches is not bad. It's not like they're passing 60 times a game.
No, he's got 8 or 9 receivers every game catching a ball.
Right. They're spreading it around in that Gruden offense.
Well, okay.
We contend, and I should have pulled the audio.
He's got 20. Yeah, because I've always said, if you need, and like I said, his hands have never been in doubt. From Clemson, it's like it said, if you need a catch for 4 yards, he's your man. I've always said that, But if you need, if you need a big play or if you need something like that, he's never going to be your guy.
That's always been at the end of the Detroit game.
That's always been my assertion on this.
He just ignored you.
That was a pretty big play at the end of the Detroit
he's
game.
in denial. Yeah, but that's my point, Mo, right? Is a guy like Hunter Renfrow, like you say, Kelly, is not going to make these massively large plays like his 65-yard touchdown. That's an aberration probably for him. But what is not an aberration, Mo, is, for example, that touchdown pass where he's sneaky, he finds his way to the ball and he gets open, right?
But that's what the Raiders needed. Who was that guy? I mean, they expected Jordy Nelson to be that guy last year, right? So now they have a guy they can depend on a crucial third down, who they know has sure hands and can catch the ball. And that's all you really need out of Hunter Renfrow. You don't need him to be Julio Jones or AV. Just be Hunter Renfrow and be clutch.
It's just a piece of the puzzle. You need to have it's a whole team effort. It's a team win, or as Kelly would say, it's a team lose. But you need a guy. You need a Danny Amendola. You remember Wayne Corbett? I used to love Wayne Corbett. This guy's just sneaky, get out of nowhere, and here he is, boom, first down. A little less guy on the field.
But he got you 80. He got you 80 receptions for like 1,200 yards a season somehow.
Well, Mo's on record for 50 for Renfro, so we're going to keep track of that. All right, Mo, go ahead.
I was going to say which 50. That's three a game. That's about what he's doing. That's about kind of what I expected from him. But everybody was making it sound like they just drafted the next great slot receiver, and he's never going to be a Cooper Kupp. He's never going to be somebody like that. He's just going to be a good wide receiver, and he needs to watch more comic book movies, apparently.
Well, yes. Just remember, Kelly once said that he was not good at football.
Right.
No, I don't think you said that.
Trent's got it on tape. Trent, roll the tape.
No.
It's possible. Like, I don't remember saying that against Renfro, but I said it against Ryan Grant so many times, it may have spilled over into another conversation.
Right. Okay. So Mo, let's move on now. What we're starting to see is a shift in mindset and perception of the Raiders and of Jon Gruden. Remember last year at this time, Gruden was crazy. The game had passed him by. He couldn't relate to young players. Talk about that progression and because of the progress they've made, suddenly everyone's singing his praises.
Yeah, and I tweeted about this. He had a sit down with Howie Long, and he said, guys are calling my phone. People want to be Raiders, and everyone kind of snickered and laughed, like, "You're right. You got a 1-win club. Raiders aren't going anywhere." 1 year later now, 5-4, and they landed some big time free agents. Trent Brown, of course, Terrell Williams, and as you said, the perception is starting to change. I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter. Some are hiding. Some have come out and said, "Look, I was wrong about the Raiders." I've come out and said multiple times I was wrong about the Raiders, because I just want to read something to you really quick, and I know Gruden is rallying the troops, and he's got guys like Eric Harris and Vincent Mayowa coming out of nowhere, contributing, and it's good to see that. And a lot of people didn't see that before the season. But just really quick, Gruden is 0-7 on challenges. They have a point differential of -32. They're 26 in points and yards allowed. They're the second most penalized team in penalties per game. Most yards penalized, 81.9, and yet they're 5-4. So I don't think a lot of people, if you were to read that out to people would say that's a 3-16, that's a 2-17. And I don't think a lot of people saw the Raiders being 5-4 and Gruden rallying the troops and getting this team together, despite the injuries, despite losing AB, despite losing Vontaze Burfict. They're still playing well.
Yeah, and again, we're speaking with Mo Moton, senior NFL columnist at silverandblacktoday.com, also contributor at Bleacher Report. And Mo, I bet the under at 6.5. I'm going to lose my bet. There's no doubt. I bet it during the summer. And that goes to the coaching and how you got to coach up guys, especially when you have holes in your roster. And one of the guys that you have to, and I know you've mentioned this many times on Twitter and other places, is Tom Cable and the job he's done with that offensive line.
Absolutely, and I've slandered Tom Cable plenty of times on Twitter. I was one of the guys that said he needs to go because his history, again, his track record was pretty bad. If you looked at his track record, he couldn't protect the quarterback for anything. But I think what we underestimated is the talent on the field. A lot of people say coaches coach and players play. And you have a guy like Trent Brown on your front line, and you have Richie Incognito, who a lot of people didn't like to sign because of his off-field stuff, but he is playing like a Pro Bowl player, I must admit. You got Rodney Hudson. I know Gabe Jackson struggled against the Chargers, but overall he's been pretty solid. Cole Miller has made a huge jump, and I think you can give Cable a lot of credit for that. So when you got those guys up front and they're playing well, you got to give credit against the Cable where it's due, and he has his guys protecting Carr. And there was a quote, I believe you went to touch on this with Trent Brown, Derek Carr went to the huddle and said, if the offensive line holds up, we're going to win this game, and that's what they did.
Yeah, they sure did, and that's where guys, I think Tom Cable and then also Paul Gunther, who took a lot of heat the last couple of weeks with the way the defense has gone, but clearly he, for a big game, guys, he coached up that defense against the Chargers on a short week, and I think you got to give credit where credit's due there as well.
Absolutely, a lot of people wanted Paul Gunther fired. I was one of the people that was like, well, wait a minute, I've said this for a while, like how many Pro Bowl, All-Pro players does he have on that defense?
Right.
And you got to give them a chance to develop guys, especially with a young group. And I think we saw that group again rally because the offense didn't play that well on Thursday. The Raiders went up 10-0. Now it's because Eric Harris had a pick six.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you got to give credit where it's due. And Cleveland Farrell starting to show. Max Crosby has played well, so you got to give that credit to Gunther as well.
Yeah, no, I think the coaching job, and we're going to hear from Michael Irvin later in the show, and he talks exactly about that and about how Jon Gruden and his staff have done a much better job than people think. All right, Mo, stick there. Don't go anywhere. We're going to bring you back after the break. We're going to step aside, pay some bill. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation on the progression of your Raiders with Mo Moton. You're listening to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Welcome back to Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Check out silverandblacktoday.com where you can read the one, the only Mr. Mo Moton, our senior NFL columnist, who joins us again on the attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line. And Mo, your latest column, you wrote about this win for the Raiders and how the resiliency of this young team and how they've overcome all these different obstacles. Do you look, we have to see what happens the next 2 weeks, but do you look at this win as maybe being that kind of pivotal moment for this team moving forward?
I think this win could do one of two things, and it's one of those good news, bad news type of deals. It could energize them and say, look, we're legitimate, we have confidence. Even when we don't play well, we can still win games. And that's the mark of a good team. You can win despite the obstacles, despite not playing well in certain areas, you still win the game. Right? And they have two pretty easy games coming up in the Bengals and the Jets. I won't overlook them, but those are games that they'll be favored to win. If they're looking at 7-4. The other side of the coin is they could start reading the press clippings, taking in all the praise, and start thinking they're better than what they are. Now, I read out stats in the last segment. This is not a perfect team. They're highly penalized. They still give up a lot of yards. They still give up a lot of points. So they still have things to tighten up. And if they start reading the press clippings and thinking they're better than what they are, they could have a slip-up somewhere. And that slip-up could bring them back to, what people thought they were. So they have to be careful about overlooking teams like the Bengals, like the Jets, and looking at playoffs. Take one game at a time. And Carr said this in his postgame. He said, guys were talking to him about playoffs and mentioning playoffs. And he was like, slow down. Let's take it one game at a time, win one game at a time. And then when we get there, we'll see what we can do. He didn't say that. I'm paraphrasing. But basically, let's one game at a time, one step at a time.
Right, Mo. And you mentioned it, Mo. We're talking about the progress. And when does it come to the point where all we keep hearing is, it's a rebuild, we want to see progression from everybody. When do we say, okay, we've turned that corner and now we are that team? You know what I mean? And this, you look at the San Diego game and you think, Los Angeles Chargers.
Carson.
And you look at that game and you think, well, maybe this is the where they turn the corner and now they start winning games and now they are that team that they said they've been trying to be for the last year and a half.
Now, before I answer, I just want to say I'm not diminishing any of the Raiders' wins. It's hard to win a football game.
Right.
Guys who play the game will tell you it's hard to beat any team in the NFL. But if you look at the Raiders' win, the one win that they have against a current winning team is the NFL Colts, who had some stars missing. Again, I'm not diminishing their record. But if you look at the teams that are playoff caliber teams that they've played, they've been blown out. The Vikings, the Chiefs, Packers.
Right.
The Texans they had a close game against the Texans, who have a bad defense. But I don't think the Chargers win is the win that says, okay, we've arrived. We've turned that corner.
Yeah.
I think in order for the Raiders at this point to say we turned that corner, they have to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they make the playoffs, then there's no question about it.
Winning these next two games definitely bode well going forward. We talk a lot about boxing here, and we use the Raiders as we call them a welterweight team. And like you said, with the Chiefs, the Vikings, those are heavyweight teams, right? we're going way up in our weight class there. So I don't think we're there yet. Baby steps, move up to the next weight class and see what happens.
Kelly Kreiner, Chaz Osborne, Scott Branson talking with Mo Moton, senior NFL columnist at Silver and Black Today and also contributor at Bleacher Report. And Mo, I'll tell you what, the one thing we talked earlier about the offensive line, but the offensive line to me is one of the great stories in the NFL this year, just because it hasn't played as a complete unit until this last game, right? Not only that, but then they have an extra lineman in Alec Ingold at fullback, which everybody also made fun of Jon Gruden, saying, oh, you don't need a fullback. Nobody uses the old school fullback anymore.
But he had multiple fullbacks on the roster for a while. That's That's what they were making fun of. Not that he had
you got to get somebody who sticks.
It's he had several fullbacks.
Talk about that, Mo, though. Talk about how, you look at Josh Jacobs, first of all, and how his running ability, how he works with. To me, it's like a ballet when I watch him run and how that line is blocking and how Ingold plays into it.
Yeah, and I just want to read a quote from Josh Jacobs, and he said, this is about Alec Ingold. He said, we're one and the same out there. We're on the same mentality. We know what we want to do, and then we do it when the play starts. That dude is special. He's talking about Ingold. And as you said, the fullback is kind of like a lost art in NFL. It's kind of like a relic. But if you watch Ingold on tape, as you say, he's like a sixth offensive lineman out there. He leads the way for Josh Jacobs. So if you're going to give credit to Jacobs in that run game, you got to give credit to Ingold. I know he got his shot last game. He had a touchdown. So, people got a little bit of spotlight. But again, he's a big part of that ground attack and deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, no, he does. When you look at this team, Mo, we talked about these next two games being very, very winnable. Again, no game is ever a sure thing, but you got Cincinnati at home. To me, I said earlier, you got to win that one. Then you're going on the road against the Jets across country yet again. That's tough just because of the travel involved, but a very winnable game. When you look at the rest of the schedule and how it lays out, I could see, let's say best case scenario, the Raiders go 9-7. They could go 9-7 and still not make the playoffs.
That's absolutely right, and it's because they don't, as of today, they don't control their own destiny. The Colts still have a half game up on them because they have one fewer loss at 5-3. So, of course, the Raiders beat the Colts. So if there's a tie there and they're both 9-7, the Raiders would get the nod. But this is what goes back to what I said. They have to keep winning games. They cannot read the press clippings of people apologizing and saying we were wrong about the Raiders and start believing they're better than what they are. They have to continue to win games. Win games that you're favored to win, and win games against those division teams you still have at the Chiefs, still have at the Chargers, and at Denver.
No, you're absolutely right on that one, and I just think that, like you said, you got to look. You don't diminish the wins because they're making progress, but I think fans need to say to themselves, look, yes, they're in the playoff hunt, but don't get your expectations too high for this team because there's still a lot of holes on this roster. There's still a lot of development. I want to see Clellan Ferrell put together 2 games or 3 games in a row where he's solid. So we'll see how that all pans out. Mo Moton, you can follow him on Twitter at MoeMoton. Mo, thanks, man. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you for having me on. Kelly, give Hunter Renfrow some more credit. I want to see more tweets with Hunter Renfrow doing his thing. So I want to see that.
Give me a little more than 3 for 30, and I'll get on there.
All right. Mo Moton, one of the great guys in sports media, especially covering the Raiders. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at MoeMoton. Mo Moton is our guy. So, guys, I think everything Mo said there, too, the one thing that's so great about him in Raiderdom, if you will, people who cover the Raiders, is Mo tells it like it is. He's not overly, flowery, and he's not also a hater to where he's always negative. He's right there in the middle, and I think what he brought up is dead on.
He's spot on. When we say you can't have a letdown these next 2 games, especially the Cincinnati game, and you don't want the team to lose focus. Don't get ahead of yourselves. Don't read all this praise all of a sudden, because all they've been hearing all season is negativity. Oh, they can't do this. They're not going to be that. And they feed off of that. Now we'll see what happens when it switches the other way around.
Yeah, and you mentioned when do they turn that corner from a rebuild. I think if you win these next 2 games, that helps turn that corner.
Yep.
Because if you're a Raiders fan, you're kind of expecting to lose one of them.
You're right. All right. That concludes the first hour of Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. After the top of the hour sports update and break, we will hear from Michael Irvin and what he thinks of Josh Jacobs, Jon Gruden, and Tyrell Williams. You're listening to Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
we've got your Raiders covered.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
It's Silver and Black Today on CBS Sports Radio 1140. And now, here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
Hour number 2 of Silver and Black Today as we roll on this non-Raiders football Sunday. But that's okay. They won 2 games in 5 days, 4 days.
Yep.
So I know you're going to Jones for football today. You have to watch somebody else. You have to root against other teams like the Bears so the Raiders draft pick continues to improve. I don't like the Bears today, do you?
The Bears.
Well, I didn't until the Stafford news came out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's funny. A friend of mine that works in a sports book texted me the other day. He's like, the runners were coming in hammering the Bears. And I'm like, why? And then,
interesting.
Well, I guess we know why now.
Yeah, all that inside information. All right, so we're going to talk now about Jon Gruden, his plan, and how it's been progressing. Because as we talked about with Mo Moton before the top of the hour, the whole idea of Jon Gruden coming back to coaching after 10 years in the broadcast booth, he got ravaged last year for it. Some of it deserved because it didn't seem logical, some of what happened last year and some of the moves he made. But as I said, and I wrote several times last year, you either trust the plan or you don't, right? There's no in between. And it's okay if you don't. I'm not saying you should necessarily. I'm just saying you either do or you don't. Well, so far this year, they're making progress. Again, not saying this is a Super Bowl team. What I'm saying is that they've made progress. The draft this year, so far, has panned out nicely for them. And I'm not saying just with Josh Jacobs. Kelly.
And Hunter Renfrow.
Josh Jacobs, Max Crosby's been playing well, right? And then you also have Trayvon Mullen, who got a little burnt on Thursday.
But I mean, that's
okay. You expect it.
Yeah, you're expecting that. That's the learning curve. And the guy was never targeted in college. It's amazing how they never threw his way. Right. So you're going to see stuff like that. So you just kind of have to look past that stuff right now. And you just want to see baby steps in him growing. You're going to take the lumps, man.
From where he is now.
Yeah, he's going to get lit up like a Christmas tree some weeks, but you got to deal with that.
Right, and the only player that people still kind of question, even though he's very talented and progressing, but for some not enough yet, is Furl. Okay, so that's the one, and it was more about draft order, as you've said all along, Kelly.
Yeah.
About going forth versus maybe you could have got him later, but that's beside the point. So we were able to talk to Michael Irvin earlier this week on The Playmakers, the show that I'm now doing 3 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. You can also stream that on radio.com. Hey. But I specifically spent some extra time with him talking about the Raiders because I wanted to hear what Michael Irvin had to say. I also wanted to hear what he had to say, too, about wide receivers with the Raiders because they don't have a true number one. So we talked to Michael Irvin, and he was very quick to talk about some players that won't surprise you, but also to give Jon Gruden credit, and so we're going to play that now.
Now, I love Josh Jacobs. I got him measured as my offensive rookie of the year. That's who I predicted to be my offensive rookie of the year, and he certainly hasn't disappointed in that situation. And I think we got to back up and say this, too, because I mentioned this last week on Inside the NFL. There are some coaches that showed you just how important coaches are in this league this year. Jon Gruden been one of them because great coaching talks about how it teaches you how to overcome obstacles. And look at what Oakland had to overcome dealing with Antonio Brown at the beginning of the season, and they're still right in the middle. You got Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin lost all the talent that he's lost, and they still at 4 foot. They're right in the middle of stuff. You got Sean Payton, who lost his starting quarterback and then his starting tailback. Still right in the thick of things. You know, guys like that. Frank Wright. Andrew Luck retired on the eve of the season started. They're still right in the thick of things. So we got to give Gruden all the credit in the world for the job that he has done and keeping his team right there and keeping those Raiders right there and keeping them in the thick of things. And you're right. I can't wait. Tyrell Williams been playing well. I like the kid. I like him at wide receiver. But a true number one dog is what Jon Gruden likes. What I mean by the number one dog, I mean he wants a guy that wants the ball so he can feed him the ball, a true number one dog. And when they get that, they will take off. And I can't wait I can't wait till they get to Las Vegas, y'all. I can't wait.
Open door here for you, Michael.
Are you? What? Listen, man. Listen. I get a couple Thursday nights off. I do Thursday night football, and this week I'll take Thursday night. I got to go shoot a commercial in L.A. So I won't be at the Oakland game. But you better believe if it was in Las Vegas, you couldn't give me this deal. No way, buddy. Don't even sweat it. I'm making this game right here. So I tell you what, dude, that's going to be incredible, man. That's going to be incredible. Every week, that the stadium's going to be packed every week.
All right, there you have it. Michael Irvin. It was good to spend some time with him. He's always fun to talk to. But, he made the point there about coaches making a difference, right? I mean, I think you see this. You have a roster in Cleveland that has some talent on it. Not the best talent all the way around, but good young talent, and they're not getting the most out of it. I think that's a little bit of coaching there, if not a lot. And so with Jon Gruden, guys, last year, it was a mess. It looked like from the outside, it looked like a mess. Now, inside could have been a different story. Looked like a mess. It was dysfunctional. Then you come into this training camp, and then the Antonio Brown stuff happened. So a lot of the national media folks were again saying, look, oh, my God, the Raiders are a disaster. It's a dumpster fire, blah, blah, right? But Jon Gruden wanted to from the very beginning. And when you have a 10-year contract and you can't be fired basically without getting, just ungodly amounts of money, he had to mold the team the way he wanted it to, right, Kelly? So the roster, we might not agree with all his moves, but he's doing it the way he wants. Well,
you mentioned it, that he's doing this in his image because he knows he's got enough rope to where this is going to last, which it's a good and a bad thing because it gives you a chance to work if you're looking at a coach and organization, or if it, like, say they're you say they've won 2 games this year and it falls apart, you're stuck with this for another, 8 years.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, you're in trouble.
If it doesn't work, right, you're in trouble, but it gives you the chance for it to work. And I think it's actually a good thing because if you look at the Steelers, they've had 3 coaches in the history of the planet.
3.
That's why this organization every year is in a playoff hunt for the most part. You don't see the ebbs and flows. They're a steady team every year because they know what they're dealing with. They give their guys time to build something and to work it. And this may have been a good thing for the Raiders, but he's not there yet. That's just the thing we need to realize. He's got more steps to take.
Yeah, obviously football's a physical game, but there's a lot of mental. It's a psychological game as well, right? When I used to scout, I would look for players, their demeanor. When like a bad play or turnover would happen, how would they come off the court? Were they shrugging their shoulders? Did they have their head down? And the Raiders players haven't done that. After the Texans game and after the Green Bay game, you heard it in their voices. Like, they're ready. They're like next week mentality. Bring on the next game. We're ready to go. Instead of, the alternative, which easily, this is happening, that's happening.
Well, and that's what I think, too, Kelly. I think that Mayock and Gruden together have been a nice fit, right? Because we all know Gruden's making the big calls, but Mayock is there to do the work that he's set to do. And it seems like he's evaluating the talent for Gruden. Gruden's listening to him, and Gruden's keeping the locker room, like you said, Chaz, upbeat, right?
Right.
Yeah, and to go back to Chaz's point, it's good to hear that the guys, because they have the ultimate excuse this year. Well, we're moving. We've had this crazy road trip.
Right.
They have every chance they can to throw superlatives out there for a reason why things are going wrong if they wanted to, and they're not doing that. Yeah. That's a huge sign that the locker room is healthy and the locker room is strong.
Yeah, because, and we hear all this, he's high character. It was kind of the big running joke on social media, high character. They're high character guys. But, that attitude does go along with being a high character guy, where you are coming in mentally stable, mentally strong, and taking it to the next step instead of just falling apart, like you said, with all these easy out excuses.
Well, and we heard from Gruden and from others around the organization that he wants guys who love football. He says it himself. I want guys who love it. And I think that's what you see, Chaz. That's what you're picking up on is you see kids and veterans who, when things go bad, and sometimes they've gone really bad so far this year, especially on defense, is they don't get down. They stay level. And that shows you a mentality, a culture. We talked about it when he got the job, right? Which is he had to come in and change a culture.
Yep.
Reggie McKenzie started it, I think, to get over those years of losing. The organization, I think, is in a much different place now. It's in its best place since Al Davis, right?
Yep.
Since the fact that they have good leadership, they know where they're going to be, which is here in Las Vegas. They have it all together. They have the money to build the roster they want. They have their coach who they're going to stick with for 10 years, seemingly. So it just seems like they finally have their crap together.
And you mentioned it, and it really kind of started with the Las Vegas deal because that was always the big thing. All the Raiders don't have any money. That's why they're playing this crap stadium. Well,
Right.
You're playing in a crap stadium.
Great point.
Who wants to go play on a baseball field, So, and everybody always used the Raiders as leverage in free agency. It's like, well, the Raiders are overpaid, but we don't really want to go there. We just want this number.
Right.
You're not seeing that anymore.
Right.
It's the whole organization as a whole is different. That worked out. But yeah, I mean, it all really started to where the franchise, it's like they became a serious franchise when they had the 10-year contract with Gruden, when they had the Vegas deal. They've got the brand new stadium. They have a secure future, which they haven't had in Oakland in a long time.
Yeah, you heard Gruden say it in the press conference after the game, too. He's happy with the foundation. He's happy with the progress. And, I think Raider fans are, too.
No, Kelly, but you bring up a point that I had not thought of is the stability coming along with not just the people in the organization, which there's some great folks in there, but also Las Vegas, knowing that you have revenue, knowing that you have a place, knowing that you are now more attractive to free agents, not just because of our lack of state income tax, which is very attractive, trust me, when they're playing 8 games and getting paid 8 games here, but certainly the fact that they know what they're getting into and Gruden is liked. And so Mo's point earlier about how people made fun of him saying, oh, guys were texting me about wanting to become Raiders. Right. I believe him now. I really do. And I think we'll see it this coming year.
But, I mean, even when the Raiders were bad, it's still a franchise that people know. You were still having guys that wanted to be Raiders.
Right.
It's just they wanted to be a Raider at a certain price.
Right. And now they might be more willing to come in on the cheap, right. Not really the cheap, but you know what I'm saying.
On the cheaper.
On the cheaper. All right, we are coming up on another break. When we return, we're going to dole out our midseason awards now that we've officially gotten there. Most improved, top defense, top offense, MVP, and who's falling down. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Raider Nation rallies with us.
The mob is restless after 2 straight losses.
Get that 8th win. You might win one or get one here. Make yourself 9-7 or something like that. The possibility of getting in a wild card. Who knows?
Welcome back. Las Vegas' only all Raiders talk show, Silver and Black today.
The Oakland Raiders select Josh Jacobs,
there it is.
Running back.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
Your Las Vegas home for complete Raiders and NFL coverage. CBS Sports Radio 1140. Join us for the Nightcap with Lindsey Brown, Monday nights at 6 on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Hey, this is Rodney Hudson. You're listening to Silver and Black today.
There's the anchor of that offensive line that is just bruising people this year. Welcome back to Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 as we continue to roll through hour number 2 on this Sunday. And in this part of the show, we wanted to kind of go, we didn't really do, I'm not a big fan of midseason awards, but I wanted to sort of talk through this because I think there are some guys early on or at this midseason point that we should highlight because we talked about this team as a young team in rebuild mode making progress. So I want to really focus on guys who are making progress. And we're going to start with some categories. And most improved, I think we probably all have the same person on this one. I have Colton Miller, right? I don't know if you guys are on the same board as me.
I don't know anywhere else you would go because it's just been a night and day difference for him, and it's such an important position that he's the guy that had to make this bump up,
right?
And he's done it.
You know, there was that one play in Indianapolis. Trevor Davis had that end around for the touchdown. Colton Miller was 30 yards down the field, walk and run like a man.
He was.
This is great. He's totally invested.
Well, he's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. He's gotten quicker.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing is the stronger because the strength was his issue coming out of UCLA, and it caused him to kind of get off balance and reach and everything too much, which is why he was just getting toasted, was because he was, trying to make up for the lack of strength by being the big agile guy instead of just kind of going into people. And you can see a huge difference.
I know we're just talking about Raiders, and players from year to year, but Darren Waller, certainly most improved player in the NFL.
Well, he's a comeback player.
Comeback player?
I think it's a good point. We should talk about him in a minute, but I want to close out on Kolton Miller here because Kolton Miller, according to Pro Football Focus, his overall PFF ranking 64.3. Last year it was 48. Right, so that shows the improvement. He's the 8th overall left tackle. His pass blocking efficiency 96.3, runs 57.6. He needs to do a little bit of work there. But I think the key to Kolton Miller this year, besides getting stronger and all that, working hard in the offseason, was the addition of Richie Incognito.
Well, I mean, anytime you get a guy, I bash.
Not just playing, I'm saying off the field too.
Yeah. I mean, I bashed that, when they picked him up just because they're beating the whole character thing around my head. Then you sign a guy like this, but he's been a Pro Bowl caliber talent the whole time. Yep. I mean, Incognito's been a stud.
Yep.
But you're right. I mean, it's on the field's one thing, off the field's the other. But you can say what you want about Incognito, but you've never been able to trash his work ethic or trash him on the field, and that's going to rub off on you.
A couple of penalties that hurt from Incognito, but other than that, phenomenal.
Well, and in an interview with Rich Eisen, Mike Mayock did after the game on Friday, he talked about how he went to, and Gruden went to Richie Incognito and said, we want you to take this kid under your wing and teach him everything he needs to know.
Yeah,
so that was huge.
Miami did that too, and we saw that one.
Come on. Retribution. Yeah. No, not anymore.
Everybody deserves a fourth chance.
Okay, so that's the most improved. So we have Kolton Miller as the most improved, with a caveat that Darren Waller, who I think is an amazing comeback story, just one of the amazing stories in all of the NFL. Mm-hmm. Now, if we look at guys that or a player that you're most concerned with, who's either regressed or has just not performed where they thought he would, I'll start with you, Chaz.
I was looking across the board, all the players, I don't really like to bash on somebody. The thing that really bothered me was the penalties. And,
that's not a player.
That's what I was going to say for most concerning. I was going to say the penalties.
That's my most concerning. I used to think it was the coolest thing.
I've never heard of him.
Death, taxes, and Raider penalties, man.
And it was the coolest thing. The Raiders led the league every year in penalties, and it was part of their intimidation factor, and they're still winning in spite of the penalties. There are different times now, and the penalties, there's a difference from the Raiders, narrowly winning to winning handily in these games.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, like I said, I was going to say the same thing with the penalties. It just, you talk about the coaching and everything like that, but to me, penalties is just, it's a coaching issue, but it's just been such a constant with the Raiders. I mean, it's like you throw on that jersey, man, and it's like you forget what a penalty is.
Yeah.
Well, and I actually picked a player.
I've got a player too.
You cowards. Because, and this is not bashing on a player. This is, to this point in the season, has just been disappointing. Has not played. Yeah, has not. No, it's not Mo Hurst, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
To me, it's LaMarcus Joyner. Look at LaMarcus Joyner now playing in the slot.
I was going to say,
he shouldn't be there.
You take a safety and you put him in as a slot corner. You're going
no, that's the point. But
if you look, Army knife, I thought he could play anywhere.
If you look at it overall, his ranking's 44.4.
He's no Taysom Hill, the Swiss Army knife of football.
44.4 last year, 73.1, and then 17 he was a 90.9. Right, 443 snaps in the slot this year. Okay, 58 in the box, only 4 as a wide cornerback. His coverage, he ranks 177th out of 199. Mm. Now, again, they're playing him on a position, so I don't blame him for that. But you would hope, and he's had some penalty issues, you would hope that he would do better and progress even in the slot position, even though it's not the position he should be playing, because he's doing that for his team. So I give him all the credit in the world for that. When you're playing out of position because your team needs you there, it's just disappointing because I think if he was playing in his right position, he would be helping them more.
Yeah, I guess Gunther's system doesn't need slot corners either. No, I thought, like I said, for me, it's kind of the same situation. It would be Mo Hurst. Not that, you just haven't seen that next step that I was kind of expecting him to take. He looked so good as a rookie, and because health concerns aside, he's a first-round pick. Right. He's going in the 20s to 30s, So you're just, that next step in that progression, you're just kind of expecting to see that. And it's not so much that he hasn't played bad. It's just that you have you're not that growth isn't there. I wanted to see.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's true. And so I mean, if both those guys play better in the second half, that Raiders defense gets so much better. Okay, so now if we look at your top offensive player, who's your top offensive player?
Well, if it's not Josh Jacobs, next category. I mean, this isn't even close. And yeah, I mean, and there's really nothing to discuss about it. It's obvious. He's the stern. He's the straw that stirs the drink, man.
Hands down.
They're running this offense through Josh Jacobs.
What a stud.
And it'll be interesting to see in the second half because he didn't carry the load at Alabama. He had 3 or 4 other guys there until the last few, like you saw in the playoffs when they really started turning it up for him. So it's the first time he's had to carry a workload for a full season.
About that rookie wall.
Yeah, we'll see. I think he runs through it.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be fine, but I've thought that before and saw what happened to guys like Leonard Fournette and some of the other guys that after that 12th game, you just kind of see that precipitous down, just that kind of down slope.
So I actually have a different player.
What?
Well, then you're wrong.
I have Derek Carr. Now let me explain. And before you get out of control, Derek Carr, 81.6 PFF ranking, 6th in the NFL quarterbacks, 2,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. Okay, his touchdown to interception ratio has improved. He's more comfortable in the offense. He's doing better when pressured. He's doing his best he's done in his career when blitzed. With no pressure, he's actually taken back a little bit. But I think Derek Carr, I'm not disagreeing with you that Josh Jacobs is the key to that whole offense, but you have to have somebody who can oversee it, manage it, and make sure it runs. And I think he's done that, which is why I have him as a top offensive player. I have Josh Jacobs as my MVP of the first half.
So that's a flip-flop. Of course, we're going to have Carr as our MVP.
Right?
So
No, I'm not. I've still got Jacobs. I got Jacobs as the best player and the MVP.
Okay.
Because if you're the
which is fair.
Because if you're the top player on your team, you're also probably the most important.
Yeah, but somebody's got to throw that pass to Hunter Renfrow in the end zone for a game-winning touchdown.
We just wanted an extra category. No, just kidding.
No, that's what the NFL does, though. It's like one person gets MVP, one gets top of.
Right.
Like, we can't choose, so we're not going to have to.
Well, and what I want to close out, we have a couple minutes left before the bottom of the hour break. So you guys have Jacobs as both MVP and top offensive?
I put Carr as MVP, so you can
Okay, so you have the flip-flop of me. So we're good there. And I think Derek Carr, look, people who don't like Derek Carr for whatever reason, I get it, and you're never going to change your opinion. But what he's been asked to do and what he's done, and to the best of his ability, he's done it. He's cut down on the turnovers as well, so you have to look at that. Now, top defensive player, we're going to end with that one, okay? Benson Mayowa.
Let's say anybody got a quarter.
No, Benson, 7 sacks, 3 forced fumbles.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
He's got more sacks than Khalil Mack. I know, I'm not comparing the two players because they're not the same. But I'm saying 7 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. He has been quietly just amazing for that team.
Well, when we talked about it in July, when we talked about players the Raiders need to pick up, I said Benny Mayo. Trent, run that. Can you run that? So he's been great. What a pickup. And he's only playing 35% of the snaps. And he's getting in there. He's getting work done. He's not my I gave my top defensive player to Eric Harris.
What's he done besides Thursday?
Well, he sealed the game in Indianapolis. The Colts got the ball back with 3 minutes to go, down by 7. Eric Harris, pick 6, game over.
Yep.
And then the same thing in this game. Started the game with a pick 6. That set the tone. That rattled Rivers, and we saw Rivers for the rest of the game just he's not being himself.
Well, I'm with Scott there with Benson. The 7 sacks, which is the same amount as Josh Allen, who was drafted after Furl.
And Eric Harris led the team in tackles for 2 of those games too.
Okay,
it's been a great team effort.
That's something you don't want. That's something you don't want, though. Your safety leading you in tackles.
Team win.
Not his fault, but yes, agreed. He's taking care of business. I had a close second. Well, not a close second, but a runner-up as Max Crosby. 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. But how he disrupts the line up front in the trenches is amazing because it doesn't always show up on play. But when you watch Game Pass and you watch play over and over again and you see how he's moving guys around, that's the remarkable piece.
Yeah, if you start watching that all 22 on him, it's fun to just kind of zone in on him because you can, it's like you're saying, it's like, and that's the biggest thing with like people that like or don't like PFF. a lot of that stuff that doesn't show up in the scoreboard comes up on there. That's the line play is the one thing I think they're really good at.
They are.
You could give Whitehead the nod too. He's after Burfict went down, he stepped up. He's played multiple positions.
Yeah, I was going to say he's filled in a big hole. He's doing something he's not used to. He's doing it well.
Yep. Yeah, he's the quarterback of the defense and doing.
And then that karate chop the other night against he's bringing back that.
That actually looked really weak, though. I was a little disappointed.
All right, well, there you have our view on the top players of the first half. If you differ with us or if you have someone else that we didn't mention, 702-889-5978, 702-889-5978. We'll get your calls in here before the end of the show. Coming up next after this break, it's Kelly's Corner. Yes, what will Kelly opine about this time?
I'm coming after you, NCAA.
Uh-oh. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140.
Unfiltered hockey talk for Golden Knights fans.
Very happy that they were able to make that decision.
You found the most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black. This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Here's your host, Scott Gobranson.
Welcome back, Las Vegas. Welcome back, Raider Nation, listening all over the country on the radio.com app. We feel you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Without all of you, we're not here. So thanks. Don't forget, Tuesday night, 5:30 this week, 5:30 instead of 6. Silver and Black tonight. That's right. We get on our nighttime Silver and Black conversation. Make sure you do that. We've had 2 shows so far. We're continuing on. That's Chaz and I doing that show. So make sure you listen in. This week we're going to have some cool guests. Can't tell you about them yet, but it's going to be fun. All right, so this is the time when you put away the children or you put earplugs in, you put on your seatbelt, okay, you take your medication, whatever you need to do to cope. But this is the time of the show. We turn over to Kelly, and he just picks a subject at random, something that he's got on his mind, and today we go to Kelly for Kelly's Corner.
Thanks, Scott. Now, this is an argument that I could actually go in 4 or 5 different ways and go for an hour on this topic because, being in the former bartender like I am, I've had this conversation a million times. But basically, I'm just really railing against the NCAA right now. And like I said, it could go different ways. I have no problem with all these people saying, these guys should be paid, these guys should be paid. If you can work something out for that, I'm cool with that. I always just hated the fact that these guys are exploited, these guys are bleep you and bleep that. They're getting a free education. How big is student debt in this country? It's in the trillions of dollars.
That's a great point.
These guys get a free education, they get all this free job training, but that's not what I'm talking about today. My big one today, and we saw it in football and basketball, is just the random time they decide to actually do things.
The NCAA, that is.
Yes. Memphis has the number 1 high school recruit, possibly the number 1 pick in the NBA draft in Wiseman Jr. They let him play 1 game and then come out and suspend him indefinitely when everyone knew that Penny Hardaway paid to move his family so he could play at the high school and the AAU team he was coaching. They've known this for years. They let the guy start the season, then pull him out. Chase Young.
Well, and they cleared him through the NCAA clearinghouse when he went to the University of Memphis. Which, if they knew this already, they shouldn't even done that. I was going to say, they did the same thing with Derrick Rose at Memphis. They cleared him, then come back after the season's like, oh, wait, sorry, you couldn't play that guy after all. We're taking all your wins. Yeah.
It's just idiotic, and we're seeing it with Chase Young at Ohio State. There'd been rumblings of this stuff coming up before, because it was something that happened last year.
Took a loan from a family friend.
Took a loan from a family friend who he said he'd known since the summer before his senior year in high school. So it was before he got to Ohio State. But, he said the loan, and he paid back the loan. He said it was to fly his girlfriend out to the Rose Bowl. Well, unless it's like a private jet that somebody got for him, are we really making this big of an issue over stuff?
Hey, listen. They do, because if you go back in the day, so I got to go back to my roots, right, to UNLV basketball. The year the Rebels won the national championship in 1990, they suspended Greg Anthony from making phone calls from a hotel room.
Right.
It was like $11.90. I got the number wrong, but it was something very low.
Well, but the best part is if you really start getting into that stuff, It's just the line of demarcation for what's a rule and what isn't. That's like for breakfast, like the one thing they could offer you a bagel, but they couldn't give you peanut butter to put on that bagel. That was considered an extra benefit.
Yeah.
It's just, but my whole thing is just the timing when they're deciding to do this stuff.
Well,
like they could have done this with Memphis at any point. They waited till after one game. Now there's an injunction. So what's going to wind up happening is, because this happened. Penny Hardaway did this stuff.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah, he's a booster.
Memphis is going to throw this season away.
Right.
But they're just going to play him and go. Ohio State's the big one to me because they're saying a 4-game suspension for something this stupid and
in
this
the middle
small.
of a season where you're number one in the playoff.
Not even the middle, at the end when it's all your important games.
Right.
You know, it's like if you do this the first 4 weeks of the season, it's not a blip on the radar. Now, granted, without Chase Young, Ohio State's still winning the Big Ten. They're still going undefeated, and they're still going to make the playoff.
Yeah.
But that's a big person to be pulling out now when you could have done this at any point in time.
And the thing that bothers me about it, too, is it is punitive and it is selective on which universities they do it. It just is. You can argue with me all day long, and you will be wrong because there are some schools they go after and there are other schools they do not. And they get away with murder while others don't. The other thing is there's no due process for these kids, right? So they have their investigation. They come out, they suspend a kid. To your point, look, if you're doing an investigation and you can't finish it by the beginning of that season, then you shouldn't suspend him during the season. Now, yeah, okay, maybe he's gone after that, but you can still get the institution if something was wrong. But this is an individual situation.
And that's the other part. You're not punishing the kid that – and I'm not going after Chase Young or Wiseman, all that stuff like this. You're not punishing the kid that did the thing there. You're just punishing the people that are still there that aren't good enough to get away with it, which just completely it blows my mind. So it's like, well, you know, the people that did this are now gone. They've moved on somewhere, so we're going to punish the other people. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just they want their pound of flesh, and they don't care how they get it or who they get it from. And it's just, you know, it's just asinine, in my opinion, to the way these things are handled.
Well, and the selective nature of how the timing.
No, people say that. What you guys don't realize is if you don't like the people, they need to go after these schools. Well, they do, but the schools that you're talking about, they know what they're doing. See, in 5 years, Penny Hardaway doesn't get busted for this because he figures out how to do this stuff. That's an easy thing. He did it himself.
Mike Krzyzewski.
That's how he gets caught. It's the same way with Kentucky. I'm a diehard Kentucky fan. Kentucky football got busted for paying a high school coach in Alabama because they got the money order from the school credit union. It's got the name of your school on the money order.
Yeah. No, but the timing is, again, it's hard to look at that situation and say the timing isn't about a punitive measure to hurt not only the individual player, but also the school at a time when it's disruptive. Because, again, if this is before the beginning of the season, before the first kickoff of the first game, they say, hey, Chase Young, we knew about this. We've been investigating it. You're suspended until we can figure it out. Okay, fine. Great. But now you're in the middle of the playoff hunt, and again, they're going to be in the playoffs. But the point is you do it at a time that is the worst for the team, for the game, and for the individual because he's a junior, right? He's coming out?
Oh, yeah. He's the number one player in this draft. Quarterbacks obviously get drafted ahead of him.
Right. But he's the top defensive player that's coming out. And so anytime he doesn't play could hurt his draft stock. I'm not saying it will. You don't think so?
Nope. He's the kind of guy.
He's already known.
He could hold up a liquor store in Columbus tomorrow. He's still the number one player on everybody's draft board and the first non-quarterback drafted.
Right.
Yeah, he's just that.
Okay. It's at the very least, what you do is you're taking away the kid's last in maybe his bowl game, his national championship game, if they don't let him come back.
You're taking that away from him. You know, in the eyes of the NFL, it's like, sweet, it's less chance he's getting hit, less chance he's getting hurt. They do not care about this one iota. Same thing with the NBA. They don't care about the family situation wise. They don't care at all. This means nothing to their, like, you'll hear that, ooh, red flags. No. I don't think people realize when they hear stuff, what an NFL or NBA team considers a red flag. Something like this isn't a blip on the radar. They do not give
drugs, domestic violence, those are red flags.
And let's be honest, the drug thing, well, what kind of drugs is it?
Yeah, if it's pot,
he's smoking pot. It's like, well, how often? Like, no, seriously, because in the NBA, you have your random testing. Is it your fourth test?
Yeah.
After your fourth test, they can't. You can go on YouTube smoking a joint. They can't do anything for it. So in the NBA, it's like, can you hold off? In football, it's April 20th, which just happens to be 420, if you pass that drug test, you are not in the drug program. So it's like, we don't care if you smoke pot occasionally, as long as you're smart enough not to do it for 45 to 60 days before. Can you stop in February and pick back up in June?
Right.
We don't care.
Talent's talent. We're taking you.
That's right. It's about winning. But I mean, I just think that you're absolutely right on all of it, and there's so many issues with the NCAA. But to me, what's going to bust the NCAA? It's got to be the top 5 conferences leaving and creating their own organization. That's the only way it'll happen. I don't see it happening.
And that's the whole thing. You're not going to get rid of the NCAA. And people talk like, listen, there's a lot of rules I think are stupid, but they are their rules, so you guys have to follow that stuff. Mm-hmm. And if you get caught, this is what happens. I have no problem with that.
Yep.
To me, it's just the timing of everything on this one. But it's like everybody's like, oh, it's unfair. It's like, well, okay, you don't have to play football.
Right.
You could go to school, pay for your own stuff, and become an architect. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you want something from the NCAA just as bad as they want something from you.
We're giving you a platform to showcase your talents.
But it's like, if you want to go this way, here's our rules. This is our rules. Mm-hmm. Like them or love them, that's the way it is. It's like, at my job, there's certain things I can and can't do. I think some of them are stupid, but it doesn't matter. I am their employee. Mm-hmm. They tell me what to do. It's the same thing with the NCAA. And don't say, well, it's not an employee. They're not getting paid. I don't know if you ever paid tuition. I cut a check every semester for my school.
Yep.
These guys don't have to do that.
No, I know. Yeah, the pay-for-play stuff is a whole different conversation. But I agree with you on this, Kelly. I think that the timing and the way the NCAA, they do things so sneaky, underhanded, and again, I use the word punitive because they are doing it to hurt people at a certain time, at the worst time, when you can do it at a time when it makes more sense and everybody else is less harmed by it, and the individual still gets punished. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll close out the show. We'll give you our NFL picks for the day and take your calls if you want to. 702-889-5978. We have somebody on Twitter who is not happy with what Kelly was saying in general, so call in. Talk to Kelly. Tell him what you think. 702-889.
You didn't even say which one. You're just like, everything.
8. You're listening to Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Welcome back to Silver and Black Today as we bring it home. This is the home stretch. Before we're off the air at the top of the hour, this has been Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Remember, Tuesday night, 5:30, Chaz Osborne and myself. Kelly Kreiner does not appear on that show. Not because we don't love him.
Not because we're phasing him out.
Or that we're phasing him out. He's not like the McRib where he's only around a few times and then he's gone.
He is like the McRib.
I wish people liked me as much as the McRib. I don't see people lined up outside here to listen to our radio show.
No, but the McRib. I mean, we need McDonald's as a sponsor. Just get McRibs in here.
Oh, man.
The best joke about the McRib was from The Simpsons where the Krusty Burger did it, but they had to discontinue it because the animal it was made of went extinct.
I love it. But yes, join us on Tuesdays. Kelly's only here on Sundays for now. Hopefully that changes at some point. But we're soldiering. I should be able to say that. It is Veterans Day weekend. Yep. Again, thank you to all the men and women out there who have served your country, no matter what branch you're in. We appreciate that so much and look forward to celebrating the holiday to show our appreciation to you tomorrow. All right. We are now at the time where we give you our NFL picks. And so you can make money. But if you don't, but if you don't make money and a guy named Sal shows up with a baseball bat, that's not our fault. But here in Las Vegas, we have legalized gaming. So do you across the country, other places. Anyway, we're going to do this now. I'm going to start with Kelly.
It's more fun to go through Sal.
And they never send somebody with a bat first time. You got to owe them now. If they're just picking up, they just roll up at the house on a Tuesday.
Well, it depends on the amount, though, doesn't it?
No, not when they're first picking up. If you refuse to pay, they will.
Do you get the sense he's speaking from experience?
Hey, sounds like he knows Sal personally.
Manila envelopes on a Tuesday, baby.
Soldier and Manila.
Yep,
all right,
Manila.
we found our crutch word. I mean, our trip words. All right, Kelly, what do you got for NFL picks this week?
Well, I know that we have one of the same from we saw it earlier. I don't care. I'm still picking it. You can change yours if you want to. and I actually found a 51.5. So I'm
You did?
Yeah.
Where?
So
Where?
catching the extra hook there on the over in the Arizona Tampa Bay game.
Where's it 51.5?
This special little place offshore.
Okay, gotcha. All right. All right.
Beautiful little place.
It's a widely known one though, so I mean it's not. Like
I believe in American workers, so I don't offshore.
That's why I'll say I'm bringing my stuff up now, see if we can find it here too.
Just kidding.
But yeah, my second pick, I'm taking the Dolphins plus 10.5 at Indianapolis.
That's a good one.
Do I believe that the front office is trying to tank? Yes. You're never going to get players to tank, and you can still lose by less than 10 and tank.
Yep.
So give me the 10.5.
All right, so you have Arizona, Tampa. You're getting it at 51.5, 52, depending where you're shopping. And then you have Miami plus 10. Good call, too.
10.5.
10.5, excuse me. That's right, you got the cricket. 10.5 there, especially Indy's offensive line is still banged up, correct? Aren't they missing?
Well,
Jacoby Brissett's
out. It is going to be Hoyer, which isn't as, I mean, it's a drop-off, but not a huge drop-off.
No,
Brian Hoyer, hey, he's the perfect guy you need 2 or 3 games.
Backup guy. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, Chaz, let's go with your NFL picks for the day.
All right. I'm going to take Atlanta. Your Falcons in New Orleans.
I like that one. What's the
14,
number?
13.5, 14, wherever you're shopping around.
Atlanta. Okay.
Atlanta. And let's go with, where was my other one?
I'm glad you prepared.
Cleveland Browns.
That's because you bet so many games. You just don't. You're trying to pick one for the show. You're picking the Browns.
I like the Browns.
I had to fight to not pick them.
Who doesn't love the Browns at home -3?
I have money on them for the week. I didn't pick them on the show. And half the reason for that is if they don't cover today, they're dead to me.
They're done.
I don't have to deal with them the rest of the year.
That's the way I'm looking at it.
All right. I have the same, as you mentioned, Kelly, Tampa, Arizona, the over at 52 there. I took that yesterday, so I got 52 there. And then I have the Chiefs -6. Now, Patrick Mahomes could come out and just not perform well because of that knee. Right. I still think he's coming back early, but I'm going to go with that, even though it's down in Tennessee at Nissan Stadium. I just like that number. I don't know why, but that's what I am betting today. So there you have it. Those are our picks. We would say for entertainment purposes only, but they're not. They're for betting purposes.
Yeah. And if anybody's near the Westgate or the M Resort, you can get the 51.5 here in town as well.
Ah, nice. All right. Well, gosh, we're already at the end of the show. I want to thank again Mo Moton for joining us, as well as I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Not a long one, but a good one with Michael Irvin, who clearly loves the fact that the NFL is coming to Las Vegas. He was, in fact, he was like a kid on Christmas morning talking about that.
And that's the thing. We laugh about that, but he's in the majority of that.
Oh, yeah.
The idea of these guys with the NFL being here, it's good for the NFL. It's just added excitement to the most exciting sport in the U.S.
Vegas is good for everybody.
It's a destination. That's right.
Yeah, I don't go that far.
Everybody wants to go. Everybody wants to go. But you know, we talk.
I got evidence to disprove that.
We talked to Irvin too on the Playmakers about the Antonio Brown situation, and Irvin, who got caught in a hotel room with cocaine and women and all this kind of stuff, he talked about it. He talked about, hey, look, I went in that room that night. That was a poor choice. He's like, that wasn't me being an idiot. That was just, I made a bad choice, and Antonio Brown's making bad choices. So it was a good conversation. You can check that out on the CBS Sports Radio website. But, guys, we're coming up on this week. We'll have the Tuesday show, and then next week we will preview the Cincinnati Bengals. I expect the Raiders maybe to make another roster move here or two.
Doing it all year, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, just the way it's going, you're going to see small little moves here and there, filling out rosters, practice squad, just everything. Because at this point, you're throwing stuff together and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, the injuries are starting to pile up.
Yeah, and I really expect with Cincinnati coming into town up in Oakland, I expect Derek Carr, the offense, to get back on track with a more normal game for them. Darren Waller's been shut out. They've been doubling him and tripling him and taking him away. So you're going to have Hunter Renfro. You're going to have other guys step up.
You think if they're doubling the tight end, your slot receiver would get more than 3 receptions for 30 yards.
There he goes again. Just like that person on Twitter. Every time we say something positive.
Yeah. That's the only reason I'm doing that. Like I said, I don't remember slandering Hunter Renfro before this.
You didn't. We just wanted to give you crap.
You got a limited ceiling. But that's right.
All right, make sure you check out silverandblacktoday.com. Also, you can hear the archive of this on all your favorite places, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you may listen. For Kelly Kreiner, for Chaz Osborne, I am Scott Gilbranson, and our engineer, Trent Ogle. We appreciate you being with us. This has been the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Have a great week.